That's what I call it.
Permission from God.
That's right.
That's right.
He's exactly right. We'll get started here in just a
You
second.
bet, you
Here. Look, right. Look. See?
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
All right. You ready, Feder?
Is that the same code?
Yes.
CH. H, not K, H.
We know what. We know what it is. We know what it is.
You just gotta be careful with it. Kick in, that's all they do.
We know who it is. All right, we ready now? Recorder on?
No.
Oh, yes, it is now. It's doing that. All right. Welcome, as we call to order the regular city council meeting and the called special meeting workshop. At this time, we do have a quorum present. All notices were previously posted at the front door and the back door of City Hall legally. All of that has been done, so we're ready to get started at this point in time. We will start out with our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'll do the pledge. We have a visiting pastor here, Luke Brown, a new guy in town, sort of. He's taken over our Calvary Baptist Church down here. I've really heard some good things about him. When I first saw him, I thought, well, that's just a kid. I mean, he's awful young to be taking over that big church, but they say he's doing a really fine job. I think, Chad, you go to the church up there?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Okay. You got the police chief.
That's right, sir.
Hey, you're in good shape.
That's exactly right.
So we'll turn it over to you, Luke.
All right, let's pray. God, we love you. Thank you so much for the privilege that we have just to approach you freely. God, may we never take that for granted. God, thank you for the beautiful city of Henderson. What a joy it is to live here, to serve here, and to love people here. So God, I pray for this meeting. I pray for those that are sitting in this room that you give them wisdom and discernment as they make plans, as they dream big and they deal with tough decisions. God, just give them the ability to think clearly and make wise decisions. Thank you, God, for the freedom that we experience here in America. May we never take that for granted. And God, help us to do everything we can to fight for freedom and for the joys that we experience in this great nation. Above all, we are so thankful for your son, Jesus, and the sacrifice that he made on the cross. And we ask everything in his precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, thanks for listening. Thank you so very much.
Very much.
Okay, at this time, we will, Federal, we will get you to do your thing with the microphone up here. Yes.
Yes, get into it. Welcome to the City of Henderson Council meeting. In this meeting, there are ample opportunities for citizen participation. For citizen participation or comments on non-agenda items, please note now is the time to do so. You will have to utilize the webinar chat feature located at the right if you are with us on Zoom to let us know if you'd like to speak. If joining by audio telephone, however, to raise your hand during this time to ask a question, please press *9. To unmute yourself, please press *6. You will be asked to identify yourself by name and address, as well as what you would like to speak on today. To ensure clear communication, please do make sure any background noise is muted and turned off.
We will pause for about 30 more seconds to see if anyone raises their hand. Nobody, okay. All right. Okay, no one joining in, we will, go ahead, we're gonna go ahead and do the workshop.
All right.
When we come back, I think we'll, go ahead and do the other end of it. We can do it now, but we just have to do it again, so. Okay, so we'll now open the workshop. It is 5:38, and our discussion upon new members and reappointments to the Henderson Landmark Preservation Board. Cheryl, you want to just kind of start us off?
Yeah, I will. We had 7 applications submitted for the Preservation Board. One of them withdrew, and I didn't get an answer back from one of them. That was Michael Worthington withdrew his application. Amanda, I couldn't reach her. I tried emailing her, but she didn't even respond back to me by email, so we didn't get to interview her. But Melissa and the mayor and I interviewed John Doolin, Kelly Baumgartner, Brent Bain, Joe Koch, and we all know Beth Bonnie. She submitted her application, so we know her well enough. She had some meetings, so we didn't do an interview with her, but we know her well enough to know what her opinions are, what kind of board member she'd make. And we have a 7-member board. 5 members are up for reappointment and did state that they would follow through with the reappointment. But we had 4 really good applicants, we thought. And we was really impressed with them. We would like to see some of those people on that board. Before I just take completely over, do Melissa, Mayor, do either one of y'all want to say anything? Or do you want me to just keep rolling?
I thought that how many did we interview? 3, 4?
2, 3,
4. We interviewed
4.
4. I thought they were all real good.
They did a really good job. They were very knowledgeable. They were all interested, really interested in being on this particular preservation board. And they had knowledge of the preservation board already. I guess through being in some of the meetings possibly, and possibly doing some discovery on it, to find out for themselves what it was. But they were very, very good in the interviews.
Yeah, I think they did good. Yeah.
They went real well, they went fast. We had a good interaction with them. They asked questions to us, and we asked questions to them. So,
I think any of them would be a good addition.
and I say the same thing, exactly. That's what I told Cheryl.
And I think this was a real good process just for board member applicants in general,
Yeah.
for any board that
For any
we're doing. I think this is a great process to continue with and go through for every time that there's members coming up to be reappointed. Just, it went really well.
One thing that we were trying to emphasize, we were trying to get maybe a business owner, a building owner downtown in our historical district. And so we had 2 of those that we interviewed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And somebody within the real estate sector, so. we
Plus,
had 3 of those? 3?
3, actually 3.
Yeah.
So that helps, to have someone with that knowledge. So anyway, we think we came up with a plan that will be workable, providing, the council decides that that's the way they want to go. Would you like to go ahead now?
I would, but I guess we can talk about the item 6, well, not really item 6, but the reappointments also.
The reappointment.
Reappointments.
Because that falls into play right here also.
So all of them did say that they would go for another year or a 2-year term. We're gonna have to stagger them. But with all these really good interviews that we had, what we were thinking was, maybe go ahead and just keep Art, Carol, we saw Carol Young on there. And put Joe Koch and Kelly Baumgartner on there for a 2-year term. And that would give you 2 new ones with 2 that have a lot of experience on it for a 2-year term, knowing that I'm gonna be there. And then for a 3-year term, we would like to go ahead and do the reappointment for Judy and let, Alma and Evelyn drop off and put 2 new members there
A 1-year term, not for
for a 1-year term.
Yeah, one.
For, yes, I'm sorry, Judy, Brent, and Bonnie as a 1-year term. And then have Art, Carol, Joe, and Kelly as a 2-year term. And then every year, we're gonna have that staggered imposition at this moment. And that'll give you some new ones with some experienced ones in both categories. You'll never end up with too many new ones at one time.
Oh, that's a point. Alright. Me too.
Who was this Art Carroll, and who was the other one for the 2-year term? Kelly?
Joe Koch, and
Joe.
Kelly Baumgartner.
But need those 4 on a 2-year,
4 for the 2 years.
because you got 7 total.
Mhm.
Good. All right. Any more discussion? Questions?
Now wait till the agenda item, but
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Somebody will make that
yeah,
motion.
we're just trying to get all the discussion out of the way at this point in time.
I'd like to do this for every
Michael,
time.
you
we've
ready to
got
make a
some
motion?
members.
I mean,
he would.
I asked for due
He would.
diligence, and I
He
think
would.
you've done it too. So when it comes time to vote, I'll say my piece.
You know, the best thing about this method of doing it is we've already got the legwork done. We can take different council members, different people to do the interview process. Won't be the same people every time. Sure will be. But there'll be,
If Jay Ferry could step in.
well, he could, he could.
Does a great job.
He could, but I thought she did a wonderful job, so. But we could have, you know, different folks do the interview for different boards. And we will have other boards coming up soon, you know, to be reorganized, to be reestablished, so. It will not be a lengthy process, it'll just be a process.
Well, and your applicants, they everyone came in ready to, they knew they applied and they were ready to serve on the board. So that's what was
Yeah, well, that's true.
exciting about it.
That is true. And that really helps when they know what they're coming for.
Right, that's really all we wanted to discuss. I didn't know how long it would take, so we just kind of went in and started at 5:30, so we could really discuss that and hopefully put that in place for every time we have some board members that needs to be reappointed. And just each council meeting already know ahead of time and appoint an interview board. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I do.
So they would like to have a pool of applicants that, you know, are ready for whatever board, and they can check the boxes on the application on what they might be interested in to volunteer for, and then we already have that pool of applicants in place, so when we're ready and somebody, we need to appoint somebody or somebody has to roll off or whatever the situation is, we can quickly grab that and put together, facilitate that little interview and move forward. Might have blank spots on some of them like we do.
Yeah, have a modified application to where a person can select what all boards they might be interested in.
Yeah.
Select all the boxes, you know, these are all the boards and committees that
We appreciated the leadership group from the chamber because they had, you know, a little pool within themselves there of applicants. That's really a good resource to draw from. Not only that, you know, there's other groups that we can draw from, but the leadership group has been a good group to look at.
It really has, because they go through that whole process of learning the different departments and get familiar with city business and.
And sometimes they get interested and say, well, you know, that might not be a bad thing. So keep that going, Steve, with the chamber, because that is a good thing. That is a real good thing. So I think it's very important to have that pool, you know, available. Draw from. If you think of anything else that, you know, would be an important factor, Henry, if you got anybody in mind, or Melissa, or whoever, you know, we need to get those names, and start developing a little process there where we can.
Well, what we can do is I'll go ahead and modify it and turn it over to Fedra and we can put it on the website. That way, if anybody questions any,
We could sign in there.
yeah,
That's true.
application for whatever board you might want to be interested in is on our website.
That's true.
I think that's where Billy got a couple of the latest ones he added, Yulee and Jesus.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
They sure did. And they're two good ones too. Real good. Yes, they sure are. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, at this time, it's 5:49. Sure, we're standing recess until 6 o'clock, and then we'll start the regular council meeting at 6. Okay, we're recessed. Hi, John.
Right on,
Hi.
Okay, now we'll reconvene back into open session here. And, Trevor, if you'll re-announce us, please, here, our non-agenda items and our agenda items. Do them, yeah, thank you. We can roll it now.
Welcome back to the City of Henderson Council meeting. This is a meeting where there are ample opportunities for citizen participation. For citizen participation or comments on, you coming in? You're all right. For citizen participation or comments on agenda items, please note now is the time to do so. You will have to utilize the webinar chat feature located at the right if you are joining us on Zoom to let us know that you would like to speak. If joining by audio telephone, to raise your hand during this time or to ask a question, please press *9. To unmute yourself, please press *6. You will be asked to identify yourself by name and address, as well as what you'd like to speak on today. To ensure clear communication, please make sure any background noise is turned off at this time.
We'll hesitate momentarily, waiting to see if someone bumps in.
There's no participants at this time. There are no participants at this time.
Thank you, Feather. Okay, since no one is on, we'll go ahead and proceed. It is now time for presentations and announcements. So, council and Jay.
I got an email right before the meeting tonight from Tracy Gura. I did forward that on to council, but he was not able to be here tonight. I wanted to express his appreciation to the city and allowing him to have his Hot Rod Rebellion car show event downtown this last Saturday. Not as many cars were there and participation as he had hoped. However, they did have folks from Houston, Fort Worth, Dallas, places like that. So they all stayed in hotels and ate at restaurants. And he got good feedback from the downtown merchants as well. So anyway, and he just wanted to pass that along, his appreciation because he couldn't come tonight. And then also in the Bombs email, he also said that the guys that work security did a great job of representing Henderson as well. So anyway.
And I was there also, and it really was nice. What we had was very nice. A lot of the vehicles were from out of state and out of town. And a lot of the visitors were also. And of course, Henry was there with the food truck. Had some really good eats, I'll have to admit. So we had a good time with Henry. But it was a good event, very nice.
About how many cars were there?
I would say there were 30, probably 32 maybe, what I would say. Yeah, it could have been a few more than that. I didn't really count, but they were all high quality. They really were. Very good. Very good. Could have used a few more patrons looking at them, but you know, it's hard to get everybody out. But it was good.
First one. So.
But it was the first one. It was the first one, and I think it'll be very successful if they continue to run with it. It's a really good idea. Good group of people. So this is a little different. It's a little different car show. These were limited to certain year models. It was not just an open car show where there was everything there. You know, I think from 50s.
Pre-60s.
What was it?
Pre-60s.
Pre-60s. That's right. I was gonna say the 60s on that. So
Charles, you were out.
I was.
He tried to get his truck in there and they wouldn't sneak him in the back.
no, he couldn't go. He couldn't go.
But it was fun.
But it was still fun. That's right. Charles was there too. Yeah. We had a good time. But anyway, just a little bit of news from the TML Health Pool. Karen and I brought Karen a brochure here about the city's TML Health. We're now on their benefits, and they had a very successful year. Even though it was COVID, it was still successful. And we got we're gonna get a decrease in our premiums for the city. It'll be citywide, all the employees that are on the health pub. That's really a good thing. We have two methods of giving money back to the cities. We either give it back as a dividend back to the city, or we give dividends back to the policyholders, which would be the, people that are on the insurance. So we decided this time is to give it back to policyholders through the city. So it really helps us, helps Karen, to manage her healthcare money a lot better. The COVID thing, it was a pretty large piece, let me assure you, but it wasn't a killer. We didn't have a major hurricane last year, major catastrophe storm of some kind, so that helped. That really helped our insurance. But the COVID thing, it hurt us, but it wasn't that bad. Like I say, it was not bad enough that we couldn't give a dividend back to the policyholders. So that's really good news. Just hope that we don't have a lot of storms and things like that this year, and that'll help us to pass that on again. Anyway, we're well represented down across the state through Austin, through the TML Health. We're really all the city. We appreciate y'all being a customer. We now have 2,870 cities that are involved in the health pool, which is very sizable, pretty sizable. Okay, anything else from the council? You don't have any announcements or presentations or anything? Jay, Cheryl? Okay, all right. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda items may be considered to be routine in nature and may be acted upon in one motion. Any item requiring additional discussion may be withdrawn from the consent agenda by the mayor, a council member, or the city manager, and acted upon separately. So at this time, you've already looked over the consent agenda, I'm sure. Made a decision.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Consent agenda stands approved at this time. We'll now move on to the council business regular session. Item number 3. We're going to open up a public hearing for citizen comments on a reinvestment zone for the Henderson Industrial Park. The time is 6:08. Okay. And the public hearing will be open at this time. Anyone would like to speak or say anything or ask any questions about it? John Clary is here. He could answer those questions.
So the purpose to actually putting this reinvestment zone in place is just to shorten the period of time that if a business owner wanted to ask for a tax abatement, you have to do this part of it anyway. So our thought process on this was to go ahead and put all of this in a reinvestment zone on a 5-year plan. And then if any other businesses within that wanted to expand their facility or make more job opportunities, then we're just letting them know the city's here and willing to give some tax abatement if they're willing to do that. And it's gonna be on a case-by-case basis. So however much money they're gonna be putting in it or creating the jobs, then it would depend on what the abatement would be.
That's true.
So if this is already in process, that eliminates about 60-day process on trying to get a tax abatement done. That's the only reason we're going forward and doing this.
Of course, we have to have a public hearing to make it public.
Yes.
Everyone has an equal opportunity to say whatever they might want to say or not say. So, yes, sir, we have a hand up.
Jeff Jones, 1610 Industrial Drive. Is this for equipment as well? Because it said job creation. So is it just property improvement, or if you buy equipment, that kind of stuff, is that going to be part of the tax abatement?
We're also gonna be looking at the tax abatement ordinance itself. We haven't determined that yet.
That's a real good question. It is a good question.
I real hard to do.
Tax abatement is typically for capital improvements on the building. However, sometimes, capital improvements can also include equipment.
Whole thing.
We pay a wear tax on it.
Yes, you do.
Well, I'm in the heavy, I've been buying equipment, so that's the reason I was curious about that. And it's retroactive.
Well,
Yeah, come on up, come on up.
You're gonna have to come up here anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
so Cheryl did a really good job initially of just identifying what the purpose is, and I just was talking to y'all a little bit about this. Whenever, in Texas, according to the state law, in order to do tax abatement, any property that gets tax abatement also has to be in a reinvestment zone. A reinvestment zone just is a zone that the city council designates as being an area that the city wants to see improvements in and see investment in. And so, in the industrial park, instead of doing piecemealing, reinvestment zones for any property that might apply for tax abatement, we just decided, let's do the whole industrial park as one big reinvestment zone. And that way it takes a step away from anytime somebody applies for an abatement. And so we're speeding up the process of approving an abatement by doing this. And so that's all we're doing. If you don't do anything, it doesn't affect you whatsoever in any way. It's not going to raise your taxes. It's not going to affect your property values or anything. It's just that we're creating a zone in hopes that folks will improve their buildings and grow their businesses. And if they apply for tax abatement, then we already have this step out of the way. And so, we're kind of doing, getting a little bit ahead of what the law says by doing this. Because most of the time you establish a reinvestment zone at the time that somebody applies for an abatement. So we're just trying to get ahead of the game. And so that's what we're doing today. Jay and I have talked over the last couple of weeks, and we want to also look at the tax abatement policy itself. And that's not part of tonight's process. Right now, we're just looking at the reinvestment zone, which is the step one that's required. And then we're going to go back and look real close at the city's tax abatement policy itself. And so we had that discussion a couple of weeks ago, and we haven't had time to get down in the weeds on that part yet. And so, but we will. And we want to be ready and prepared in the event that somebody comes forward and asks for tax abatement. And, I've had discussions for the entire 3 years that I've been here with West Fraser that they're, hoping at some point that they're going to, improve their property and do a renovation over there. They haven't pulled any triggers yet or announced anything. So we don't know if and when they're going to do it, but this would be one, as an example, this would be a step out of the way for whenever that happens. It's really important to note that according to state law, if somebody gets ready to build a new building, for example, on their property, once they turn the first shovel of dirt, it's too late. You cannot go back and ask for tax abatement after you turn dirt. So, so we're getting this step out of the way to speed up the whole process in the event somebody comes forward and asks for an abatement or some other kind of loan or grant program there are some other loan and grant programs that also require reinvestment zones. So, so we're just trying to get this out of the way. I have a phrase that I like to use. I want head code to be able to move in the city as well, to move at the speed of business. And government doesn't do that very well a lot of times. So this is one way that we can try to move at the speed of business more closely.
Yes, sir.
What kind of timeline do you think you'll have on the answer on that capital equipment, please?
Well, Jay and I are going to have to get serious about looking at that policy. And we just have both been really busy in the last few weeks, but I promise you we'll look at it. I do not have time like today. Anybody, y'all have any questions?
Well, and I believe if, talking about this, this is not only gonna be the only reinvestment zone that we'll be doing. We're looking to do other reinvestment zones and other places where HEDCO has purchased property at, to go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. And it's already in there. Every 5 years, we can renew this to make it a reinvestment zone. And that's just, again, like he said, taking that step out whenever somebody's ready to expand, build, create jobs, whatever the policy's gonna say.
Where do you see the list? Or you have every one of those listed somewhere? You say heck with it.
The other
Well, we
properties
were
are
talking
listed
about
available property?
the industrial drive on Frisco, on Frisco Street. that
So we
industrial-
also own some land on Frisco Street that is undeveloped, HICO does, and then there's some other business people that do as well. So, along that same line, if we do a reinvestment zone over there as well, then that would be the same type of idea that we would.
So at this time, this is the only one you have?
Right, at this time, only the current industrial park is the land that we targeted, for this tonight. But we've talked about maybe also doing one along the southwest industrial park is what it's called, over along Frisco Street. And over where Sadler's is and Burroughs and that kind of that strip. So we've talked about maybe doing one over there as well. And then HIDCO has just bought a whole bunch of land outside the loop on the north side of Henderson. And we're going to be developing that into a business park as well. Right now, that is not in the city limits, and so there's no need to do a reinvestment zone out there yet. But at some time, I would expect that the city will want to annex that property as well, and we may do a reinvestment zone as well there.
Do you have is there a particular property in mind or area that you're asking about?
He's not gonna say.
Now, I know there is, it's just a matter of, we can talk about it all.
Yeah, we can talk
Let me
about
give you
it.
my card, and if you want to talk offline. Give me a call.
This is not saying that other areas can't be.
Yeah, because they.
We're just getting this big picture out of the way in these big industrial parks.
So a reinvestment, if you have an individual property somewhere and you're gonna improve the property enough that it warrants doing a tax abatement deal, we can set a reinvestment zone up for just that single property. It doesn't have to be for a whole big region or an area like this. We're trying to take in an area that includes a whole bunch of industrial property with this deal. But you can do a reinvestment zone for an individual property. If that's what you're interested in, we'll talk.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. He's got his covered up, but I think he's got a smile underneath that.
He does. I can see it.
All right.
Thank you, John.
This, the tax abatement world and, this reinvestment zone area and all this for Henderson is pretty new. We've not done a lot of tax abatements historically in Russ County or in Henderson. So we're kind of running through this and researching this all together from the legal side, statutes and what we can do. We want to be aggressive when it comes to business and when it comes to some of the older business that we have here and make sure that we are being good partners in every available aspect that we can. So we're going to learn a lot of this stuff together. So be patient with us. But we'll jump on the question related to equipment and stuff like that ASAP. I mean, we're gonna jump on that real fast and make this happen. This is not something we need to prolong out. So it's hard to give you a timeline other than we're gonna do it as quick as we can. We don't have any reason to just sit back and not do it at this point.
And this is not eliminating residential areas. If anybody's interested in building new subdivisions to put rooftops in town, we're ready for that too.
And this is all tied to chapter 311, right? Of the government code. 311, I think it's.
312.
Because the comptroller's office has some really good information. It talks about how, like this zone, all the taxes collected, some of that revenue, that tax revenue gets put into its own account, and then you use that to fix streets, add Water and sewer lines, or,
Infrastructure.
yeah, infrastructure, maybe broadband.
That's true. All comes back to internet.
Gotta have it,
That's it.
gotta have it.
All right.
Any questions, anything else?
Yeah.
Public?
No more questions?
I would like to make a comment.
Okay.
On this. Appreciate y'all. I moved here about 3 or 4 years ago. Appreciate everything the city's done. This last year's been tough, I think, for a lot of us. With most of us that are in business, we're not really competitors. We benefit from each other. Things like this help us all.
Yeah.
Henderson, for me in particular, in my business, I know a lot of the oil and gas has been hurt real badly last year. And we didn't grow like we had hoped because of the business, but the way Henderson handled the pandemic, it really gave us an advantage over our competition. We had competition that was literally shut down from some of the big cities. And us being, you know, I would call this a rural area. I'm from a smaller area than this, but it really helped us. I appreciate what the city's done with their working with the businesses, just all the way through. So I really appreciate it. And I think it probably gave us a lot of, even the ones that were hurt real bad because of the economy. I mean, y'all could have put some companies out of business, and I appreciate what y'all have done.
Thanks for the comment. Here, Steve, are you, okay, you good? Okay. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna close the public hearing at this time. It would be 6:22. We're closing the public hearing. We'll actually vote on this discussion here in the next item on the agenda. And that would be item number 5. Consideration and possible action upon a reinvestment zone ordinance number 2021-0501 for Henderson Industrial Park.
I make a motion, we approve the reinvestment zone ordinance.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, or raise your right hand. No flags. It's tricky. No flags. Like sign opposed. Item number 5 stands approved. Now let's move on to item number 6. That's consideration and possible action upon ordinance 2021-05-02, amending the establishment of the Henderson Landmark Preservation Committee. Okay. This has been somewhat of a discussion item the last couple of council meetings. And I think we kind of have it worked out here. We did the workout part in the workshop a while ago. So we think.
That'll be for the appointments on number,
Well,
Yeah, this is for the ordinance
yeah, this is
where we were
for the district. This
establishing
is for
that.
the district.
Right.
Yeah, this is for the district.
Now I did do a little more investigating, and the Rusk County Board of Realtors is no longer a business either, so we need to remove that from that as well. I'm gonna ask that that's done on the second reading, removing that.
We'll do that.
And also ask that we pull all of those definitions over into this new ordinance, so we can.
Second, we'll do that and have it ready for the second reading.
Okay, I'll send that over. I'll send that over to Joe in Joe's office and let them get all of pull everything from the old ordinance over that we wanted to remove and put it all in there so we have a nice clean new ordinance.
So will you just delete the board and leave the realtor?
We'll remove Rusk County Board of Realtors.
I'm just saying, we should read realtor.
We just learned that it's one of those things we're trying to clean up. We didn't know.
But-
all
I
Yeah.
see.
But as far as somebody, we'd like on there would be realtor.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't have to be on the board. but-
They don't have to be on the Board of Realtors, but you'd like to see realtors on
Right.
the Preservation Board.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just modify that instead of removing. Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Approve that modified.
I make a motion to approve the first reading with the modifications that were discussed.
Second. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Item number 7 stands approved. Now we'll move to item number 8. Consideration and possible action upon a recommendation of an appointment of 2 new members and the reappointment of the other members for the Henderson Landmark Preservation Committee. This was tabled from last.
I think you skipped one.
Oh, I did?
They look just alike, but it's actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The word is on
Where's the one? Yeah, they are.
There's 2 different ordinances
They
for the preservation.
Consideration, consideration and possible action upon ordinance 2021-05-03, amending establishing criteria for the historical district. No, still wrong.
No, that's right.
Okay,
Two bears all the same.
that's what I just said. Okay, that's okay. There's an echo. There's an echo. There's an echo.
So number 6 was the establishing the preservation, and this is where they came in and gave the guidelines of
Okay.
what we're going to, the criteria for it.
They're being very persnickety.
Yes. And in that criteria in section 2, it was, section 2 is if you're not approved a permit in item, in section 1, you have the opportunity to appeal the city council. Well, in section 2, it also said, after appealing to city council, they just forgot to remove D and it said appeal to city council in it as well. We're just gonna remove
Cleaning
that.
up the garbage.
Yes, we're just gonna pull that one out and do the same thing as we did with this. In the second reading, we want to apply that criteria over into a new ordinance. And I'll send that.
Clean right there.
I move we approve it contingent on those modifications.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Okay, item number 7 does have our approval. Now we'll move to item number 8 again. Consideration and possible action on a recommendation of an appointment of 2 new members and the reappointment of other members for the Henderson Landmark Preservation Committee. This was tabled from last meeting, and so we're going to process it now. I think we have an answer to it.
I move that we appoint the following individuals to their terms to the Landmark Preservation Committee. Art Rousseau, Carol Young, Joe Coke, and Kelly Bungardner. And that we appoint Judy Sewell, Frank Bain, and Buddy Getty to terms of 1 year, or to a 1-year term.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Item number 8 stands approved. Item number 9 and number 10, we're going to need to strike those from the agenda at this time. We really do not have all the information that we need. Is that correct, Jay?
That's correct. We tabled them last time, so we can't table it again. So we just need to strike it from the agenda. Ultimately, the sports complex, we're doing the title search over there to clean up that property, make sure we know. So until we have that, we can't really act on it. So we just need to strike those from the agenda number 9 and number 10, and we'll come back
next time.
We'll come back special meeting on it. All right.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So with that being said, we'll move to item number 11 on the agenda. That's consideration and possible action upon a second reading of an ordinance creating the City of Henderson Municipal Court of Record.
So we had the first reading last meeting, and then this would be the second reading. In the meantime, there was we did have an amendment that was sent out last time, and I know Joe worked on that, and closely, and there was some language change there, Joe. I don't know if you remember specifically.
I do, we didn't do anything substantive to the ordinance except to make a little more detail in terms of the jurisdiction and the area and the law that the court works, and it's, again, no substantive change in more detail. So we're ready to pass it. And I've spoken with Judge Holmes about it, and I think he's satisfied with what he's got now.
Do we hear a motion? Are there any questions first? Motion.
I make a motion, we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Item number 11 stands approved. Item number 12 is consideration and possible action upon a second reading of ordinance 2021-04-03 on a text amendment to the zoning ordinance by a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Hughes, I believe you got this.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we went over this last time. Mr. Walker, Johnny Walker, made application to add these warehouses, self-storage warehouses, to the list of permitted uses, with the idea of purchasing property and then developing on this property a big warehouse for self-contained storage units. And Planning and Zoning made a recommendation at their meeting on April 6th. Our staff agrees with that recommendation, and we've asked that y'all approve the second reading.
Billy, I think I asked this question last month, and again, this is the only area in the city of Henderson that this pertains to. Is that
Well,
correct?
it pertains, as permitted uses, it would pertain to all of the high-intensity industrial area, I-2 area. And we did it as that because there's some smaller lots in the industrial zone that might be used for the same purpose. We're trying to make use because of the setbacks on the lots and the lot size themselves that are required in the new ordinances are quite large. And some lots just can't accommodate that. And so we want to make use of any smaller lots that are available, make this as a possible use of those lots.
It's everything in the red there ultimately.
And that's our only I-2 zone.
Yes.
That's, I think, what Steve was asking, right?
Yes. So there are, because I know Johnny's not gonna do what he said he was gonna do.
Yeah, there's the sale of the property did not go through, but you know, when we're this far into it, it's not to say that he won't move right up the road and there, you know, also one of the other lots and do the same thing. He is wanting to expand his self-storage business.
Okay, as long as we're doing an improvement to other properties,
Yes, sir.
not just that.
And we have a potential buyer for the other car wash property already, and we're working with them now.
Yeah, it'll work out no matter
Well,
what.
that type of facility's in need, so if this accelerates that process a little bit, so we do it. I make a motion that we approve this second reading.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Item number 12 stands approved. Item number 13 is consideration and possible action authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with ClearGov for transparency, budgeting, and track capital project software. Okay.
Yeah, so another small software purchase here or partnership. ClearGov, where's Karen go? There she is. Karen's spoken with them and went through a little webinar, and then she asked me, thought it might be worth looking at. And so we did, had a good conversation with them. They will help us build that budget book that we spent a lot of time on this last time, going through it. It'll all be done through basically the software, the app. It'll lead us through each spot, check the boxes as we go. It'll pull in census information for the livability sections and different things like that we do, upload documents as well. But it also has another feature right now with it that is a budgeting tool, and it'll help us through our capital projects and stuff that the different departments will be able to have logins to and enter in, like the strategic plan and stuff that we're in the middle of right now, getting ready to go through. They'll be able to do that at the department level, and then it's just part of that software, and moving forward. So it's a lot smaller price tag than what I anticipated it being. So we decided, yeah, we want to go ahead and have them send the agreement over, and we'll look at it. And that agreement is in your packet there, but ultimately, and I'm not looking at it right in front of me here, Karen, but I think it's around $7,500 annually, something like that. They're going to prorate that for this year for us, for just the last 3 months that we will use it. And then there's an initiation fee, a setup fee that they will have, and I believe it's $1,200 or $1,800 one time. And they're going to move it to October as well, so we don't have to worry about it from this budget standpoint. So we'll have a prorated, just a 3-month cost currently in this budget that we're in, which is under $2,000 to be able to utilize it this budget cycle that we're working on, and then be able to prepare the budget document once we approve come October 1. So yeah, it's something that's needed. We spend a lot of hours and time trying to create that from a lot of different, different directions. A lot, using Word and Excel, and the charts, and it's a lot more interactive tool that will go on our website. You'll be able to click on it, and you can make, pie charts or bar graphs, or anybody can do that directly on our website. Very transparent when it comes to the budget moving forward. But again, the price tag's pretty small compared to what I've seen some of these type of things go for. I would expect it at least be double or triple what the number is. So pretty impressive. I thought, Karen, if you want to add anything that I missed or?
No, I think you covered everything, but yeah, I would definitely say I think it's worth the money, just for the man hours that it's gonna save for other employees. Be very useful for the city.
The agreement would be a 5-year agreement, no price change within that 5 years, and then we get to turn around and do it may go up 3 or 5% or something at the end of the 5 years. It's a 5-year agreement. They've sent it in, so once you guys approve and give me authority to sign that, I'll sign that in the morning. We'll send it over, and we'll have access to that budgeting software immediately. So just request an authorization to sign that.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, just raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Item number 13 stands approved. Item number 14 on the agenda is consideration and possible action on authorizing for the city of Henderson to issue a request of proposal, be an RFP, for administrative services on a comprehensive plan. Mr. Jack.
Oh, comp plan. So we've been working towards this for a while. I've worked hard to try to complete the actual document, to have it in front of you and get it to Joe first and have it in front of you, but that didn't quite happen. But we could do it just like we did last month or a couple months ago when we approved, or you guys approved the RFP. If we wanted to go out to for a consultant to help with the funding American Rescue Plan, we just went ahead and approved the ability to go out to that in case we want to do that. Same thing here would be my request that once we get that document ready to go, that we will we'll send it out. And I think we were within a week or so from completing that, and I'll send it out to council so y'all can review that and make sure everything's in there that we want. But just to make sure we're speeding up the process, when we have it complete and we're ready, we can go out to bid on that comprehensive plan for consultants to lead us through that process. Something we've been waiting on to do for a while. And a lot of our issues that we talked about, I've said we've got to put that in the comprehensive plan and talk about the big picture and how it all ties together. So long time coming, 20, 30-year type of a plan in front of us. So we're looking forward to that. So again, just looking for your authorization to, when we get that together, that we can send that out and go out to bid. And then again, ultimately, when the bids come in, you guys will select who that person is. Approve.
I'll make a motion that we, give our city manager the, authorization to go out for, RFPs.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Item number 14 stands approved. Item number 15, I think we're going to table that item. Is that correct?
That is correct. I would, if you would entertain a motion to table, we were working on, Neil, Stokes Associates are working on the numbers there, and it just hasn't quite gotten together. We put it on there in case it was ready, just anticipating, but we'll bring that up in the next meeting. If y'all, I'll move we table it.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Like sign opposed. Okay, item number 15 stands tabled at this time. Next item on the agenda is number 16. That's departmental reports. All the departmental reports are in your packet. I'm sure you've already looked those over and read them. If you have any questions concerning any of those, and the supervisions here, and the managers are here, that you may want to ask a question or something. I do have one question for David. The street repair thing, the street program is nearing an end, or? No. Okay. It's rolling right along real fast. Okay. Okay.
Weather's having fun with it right now.
Well, the contractor kind of showed out the other day on the evening side. He did that one real quick.
Well, there was a lot of heat on that.
He saw the school buses waiting in line when they come down the road. He knocked that road out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, he got after that. Any more questions?
We probably, what do you think, Davis, halfway through phase 3? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, John.
Here's John.
Just real quick, I wanted to let all of the council know that at our HEDCO board meeting last week, the board did approve a $653,375 contract with Stokes Engineering to do the engineering for all of the road, water, sewer, utilities in the new business park. So we're gearing up for that. They'll do that work over the summer, and we're still on target, hoping for a August or maybe September date to complete that and go to bid for the actual work to be done out there. So, and again, that's expected to be around a $5 million project.
All right.
Karen, if you want to come up with, one thing we want to do is create something different from a finance side as a report that has a little more meat to it, substance to it for council to be able to review. And with Encode and its ability to spit out reports a lot better than SDW, I asked her to kind of put one together that just has the different funds in it from a revenue and an expenditure side. And she has this one. We'll probably play with it a little bit more and maybe do some other things, but we want to do this starting now and do this every meeting. We kind of go over those. So you'll see that new report in your packet each month. And then we can go over it as well here, and if there's any high points or whatever explanations on why a fund is a certain percentage compared to others or whatever, high or low. There's usually a good reason behind it, and usually Karen has the answer to that. So I want to bring her up and then kind of run through it if you want to, Karen, and kind of explain the different funds. Of course, but these are the same budget funds that you guys see annually anyway. This first page that I have on the screen is the revenue piece. And this should be ending into March, so it should be 50%, dead 50% halfway through the budget. So when you see the percentages over here on the side, ideally that number will be 50%, but there's good reasons why some of them are not. Anyway, I'll get out of the way, Karen, I'll let you explain what's up there.
Yeah, so on the revenue side, you were looking at around 50%. If it's less than 50% on the revenue, then that's we're good there, because that means we're bringing in more, we're above where we need to be. So now some of these are gonna look, a little off, because when y'all approved the amendment to move over our budget from last year and move what wasn't spent. So you'll see the first column is the original total budget. And then if we had to make any amendments from adopting that first one, then the current total budget column is gonna be anything that we've amended between when first adopting it to now. We have had one amendment where we moved our money over that we didn't spend, but we needed it for this 2021 budget. So there, of course, there's the general fund. That's going to be the majority of our departments. If they're not water sewer, then they're going to be in our general fund department. Of course, then there's the general construction. That's a lot of our bigger projects, park projects, or anything that we're adding to buildings. That's going to be in our general construction fund. The 2019 bond series, that's our streets that we were discussing. Probably will have maybe a little bit of money even left over when these are done, and might can even do a couple more streets. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, I know Davis will spend it. So I'm not even trying to say that.
We got more streets.
Earmark that for anything else.
Yeah, we got more streets than money.
And that's why if you look up at that streets and drainage, normally that is where the big projects go. And we try to budget quite a bit there each year, but since we've had this bond, we've kind of lowered what's in the streets and drainage. But once that dries up, that money, then we will go back up to the streets and drainage and get money budgeted in there for those projects. I don't know if y'all have any specific questions on the revenue side. Some things that can happen that make it look a little bit off would be like our property taxes. We get those up front. I mean, those come in, people, because there's, penalties if they don't get their property taxes paid. So our November, December, January payments on property taxes, usually by February, March, that really starts slowing down. So by halfway through the year, we've gotten the majority of our property tax, and that is in the general fund. Sales tax, we get that each month. So that's kind of spread out all over the year. And we're still looking good there. We just looking at April's numbers, we're about 80-something thousand above what we were same time last year. We're about to get into the pandemic, the shutdown, where we thought our sales tax would be going down, but actually people got out and went to Lowe's, went to Walmart, or they couldn't leave Henderson, so they had to stay here to invest in their money. So that helped our sales tax through the pandemic. And so now we're getting into those. Can we still stay kind of where we were last year at this time on sales tax? So far, we're still looking pretty good on the sales tax side of it. And then of course, water sewer is going to be depending on, we've had a lot of rain. So sometimes people, they're not watering their yards and that type of stuff when we get rain like this. So consumption may be a little bit down. So that's where water sewer may be a little bit low now because we haven't gotten to our summer season. So once we keep our fingers crossed for, people want to keep their
Drier,
grasses
but not too
green,
dry, right, Rusty?
Yeah.
Drier, but not too
Well,
dry.
not too dry for the fire department, but enough to where people are spending a little bit of money on their water. Of course, we went through February with the freeze and a lot of people's pipes busted. We worked with those people, trying to adjust their bills, because, that was just something that we hope we don't want that again. like the snow, just not the freezing part of it. So I don't know if y'all have any specific questions on the revenue side.
I know we do expense now.
Those others are the expenses, so here we're hoping that, that we have a little bit more remaining than the 50%.
Yeah.
But, and again, on there's some funds, that there's some expenses that come out right at the beginning of the year, so they're not necessarily spread out all the way, so they may be, you know, a little bit, not right at that 50%, they may have already spent, more of it. I'm thinking of like when we buy some capital expenditures, some autos, you know, the police department, when they buy their vehicles, that's usually at the beginning of the year. So they kind of spend up their capital budget early on. So it could make that 50% be off just a little bit. And this is all expenses. So this is payroll, it's your regular maintenance and operation expenses, and it's your capital expenses in those departments. Now, this is just kind of overall. I mean, if there's certain line items you want to see more specific, I mean, we're able to break it down even by department. You can see how some of the departments are doing.
Council, is this beneficial? Is this report beneficial? Give you a little bit or no? Or you like it? Okay.
I like the running town. It's good.
Okay.
We haven't had that before.
We just didn't want to overwhelm you with too much, but yeah, if you need more specific. I'm a numbers person, so I like numbers. Not everybody likes numbers. Yeah. I thought Councilmember Morton would like numbers, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
I think it's gonna be good. Okay, any other questions, or Steve, go ahead.
It's probably not important, but these minutes from the different, like Board of Adjustments.
Yes.
Does it really matter how accurate they look?
No.
One was a guy that wasn't able to attend the meeting and he was making motions left and right. Anyway,
We'll ask Cheryl.
Yeah,
I'll make a note.
most of those boards are ancillary boards. They're not held accountable, though.
okay.
What can I say? They're not really managing any money, so that's why I say that.
We still like them to be accurate for y'all.
A little bit, before we get there.
So we'll work on that. Okay.
Okay. Keep looking there.
Maybe they called me.
Yeah,
Maybe they called me.
they might
I
have.
don't know.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I'll go back to what I said. I'll find out. Right.
All right. Nothing else coming up. 6:55 at this time. We will move into executive session. To consult with city attorney, discuss the litigation, real property located on West Fort Street and 113 East Main. City manager's annual review employment agreement in accordance with Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 071072, 073, and 074. And there again, 5. No problem. All right, we're going to executive. Worldwide. Okay, we'll now reconvene in open session at 8:07 and take no action as a result of the executive session. So now we'll move to item number 19, and that's the adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. We stand adjourned at 8:09. I'll just have you. Okay, all right. Are you two? I turn these times.